Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really good. Today I want to share 3 Nourish bowls with you guys that will all have very different flavor profiles, but they will have some things in common. And the first thing is that I will create a quinoa sort of salad that will create a great base for all 3 bowls with some herbs and lemon zest to make it really flavorful. And then we can build the bowls from there. And the bowls will also have a good sort of nutritional balance. They will have complex carbs from the quinoa. They will all have a good plant protein source and then lots of different veggies. And 2 bowls will also have fruit that adds lots of good texture and flavor, because even if this is a very healthy and wholesome way of cooking and eating, it has to be delicious, of course. And the first one we're gonna make is a super green bowl that's gonna be great for spring with some roasted asparagus and a edamame and chickpea sort of dressed salad. And yeah, it's super yummy. It has a delicious basil dressing that's a little bit inspired by pesto. So I think we should just dive right in. And the first thing we need to do though is make the quinoa. So let's do that. I pre-cooked my quinoa according to package instructions, and to serve 4 I used 3/4 cups worth of dry quinoa. Then I'm going to add the zest of 1 lemon to the bowl with the quinoa and the juice from half of it as well. Next I'm going to chop up my herbs. So I've got half of a packed cup of flat leaf parsley, and I'm going to match that volume with fresh coriander. If you don't like coriander, you could use another herb here like basil or dill. It's really up to you. And then all I'm going to do is just chop it up really fine and add it to the bowl as well. This will add lots of flavor and freshness to the quinoa, which makes a great base flavor for all of the Nourish bowls. Then to tie it all together, I'm going to season it with half a teaspoon of herbal salt, but you could use regular salt as well, just do it to taste if so. Now that the quinoa is prepared, we can get started on our first Nourish bowl. And to start this one off, I'm just going to trim the ends of the fresh asparagus. It just removes that woody part of the asparagus that's not that nice to eat. And then I'm transferring the asparagus to an oven-safe dish. I'm drizzling it with some avocado oil and seasoning with salt and black pepper before tossing to coats. Then I will transfer the asparagus to the oven that's preheated to 200 degrees Celsius, and I'll roast it for 12 to 15 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to make my chickpea and edamame bean sort of salad. It's just a mixture of chickpeas that I've drained and rinsed and shelled edamame beans that I've thawed from frozen. And then I'm seasoning this with some chili oil that has some nice chili bits in there and some sesame as well. And I'm seasoning with salt, and then I'm just gonna toss that to coat all the beans and set it aside. Before I make the dressing, I'm just gonna slice up some of these sugar snaps, and I like to cut them lengthways like this because they look really beautiful like that. But all you need to do is just slice them any which way you like and set them aside. And then to start the dressing, I'm going to peel a shallot as well as a garlic clove, and this is going to be part of the sort of base flavor for the dressing. I'm making the dressing in my high-speed blender, so I just transfer the shallot as well as the garlic clove into the blender, and I like to just chop the garlic into smaller pieces. Next, I'm adding in 1 packed cup of fresh baby spinach. This helps give this dressing a really vibrant green color. And then I'm adding in a packed cup and a half of fresh basil leaves for lots of flavor. To add some creaminess to the dressing, I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of tahini, and I'm squeezing in the juice of a whole lemon for lots of brightness. Then for some umami, I'm adding a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, and then I'm drizzling in 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, followed by a teaspoon of maple syrup and 3 tablespoons of water. And altogether, this makes for a yummy dressing, seasoned with a little bit of salt before blending it up. As you can see, this makes for a super vibrant dressing and it tastes just as good as it looks. Then to assemble the bowl, I'm starting off with a bed of baby greens, just any type of mixed greens that you like. And then I'm sprinkling on some of those sliced sugar snaps, followed by a good serving of the seasoned and herby quinoa and the bean salad. I drizzle on a good amount of the vibrant green dressing before I fetch the asparagus from the oven, which should definitely be done by now, and I top it off with a few spears of roasted asparagus. This dish is super yummy for spring. It's vibrant, it's fresh, and full of yummy veggies. So as you can see with the ingredients that went into this first bowl, it would be really easy to meal prep some of the components and then be able to just throw this together for a quick lunch or lunchbox or dinner. And that goes for all of these bowls actually. So keep that in mind. You could make them and eat them for about 3 or 4 days even maybe, if you keep it nicely tucked away in the fridge in an airtight container. And the next one we're going to make is a sort of Mexican inspired Nourish bowl with some black beans that we're gonna saute up with some nice spices and a pineapple and tomato sort of salsa or salad. This one is one of our favorites. It's something we make often, so I hope you will enjoy it. But before we dive into the recipe, I want to thank Nordgren for sponsoring this video. And Nordgren is a Danish watch brand that make beautiful and timeless pieces, and their ethos is that each step from production to delivery should be sustainable. This is something I really appreciate about Nordgren, and I especially like that they create classic pieces with a modern twist and that they offer lots of vegan strap options that are interchangeable with the faces, because it means that I can use my timepiece again and again. Buying something of good quality that you can customize means that you will buy less over time, and I think this is a great sustainability mindset. At this point, having worked with Nordgren for more than a year now, I have tried pretty much all of their vegan strap options, and there really is something for everyone. They offer link straps as well as mesh straps made out of metal, and they also have lots of different vegan leather straps in different colors, as well as nylon straps in different colors and rubber ones too. Personally, I have landed on a Unica face with a black leather strap as well as a golden link strap, which suits my style and my needs. But at the moment, Nordgren is actually sort of celebrating their upcoming launch of their new line Guardian, which is coming out on the 19th of April. And I have personally not been able to try it out, but I'm sure it won't disappoint based on my previous experience with Nordgren watches. And one last thing I want to mention about Nordgren that I really appreciate about them is their Giving Back program, where they work with NGOs on different social and environmental protection programs, and funds from each sale goes towards this. So if you want to check out Nordgren further, I'll link their website down below, and if you use my code, you will receive 15% off their entire line. But now let's make some more Nourish bowls. Let's make this Mexican-inspired one, and we're going to start by making the pineapple and tomato salad. First, I need to prep the pineapple by cutting the end off and then cutting a hunk off and peeling it with my knife. I then like to cut the flesh away from the core, just like this, before I cube it up into small little cubes, perfect for the salad. Also for the salad, I'm using an array of these colorful cherry tomatoes, but you can use any type of tomato that you like and have on hand. But when I'm using these smaller tomatoes, I like to just cut them into quarters. Then I'm going to chop up some red onion. I'm just going to chop it really fine, and then I'm also going to chop up some fresh coriander to bring in even more of that herby freshness to the dish. Then to add some heat to the salad, I'm going in with half of a long red chili. You can use as much or as little as you like. I like to remove the seeds to make it a little less severe, but you do you. And then I just chop it up really fine before transferring all of these veggies and fruits into a mixing bowl so that I can combine it all. To add some tang and juiciness, I'm squeezing in the juice of 1 lime, and then I'm going to season this with salt and just toss it all together. Then I set this salad aside so I can prepare some cabbage, which will create a great base for the bowl. And I like to mix purple cabbage and white cabbage, but you can really use whatever you have on hand. As you can see, I'm using a mandolin to slice up the cabbage, and I think it's actually the easiest way to get really nicely shredded cabbage. Then to just brighten up the cabbage, I squeeze over some lime juice, and I'm also going to season it with salt before tossing together. And I like to just do this to bring out the flavors and fit in really nicely with the other ingredients going into the bowl. Finally, I'm going to prepare some beans that are going onto the bowl. So I'm adding a little bit of avocado oil to a small saucepan, and then I'm frying off about a tablespoon of tomato paste in there. This will just remove that raw tomato flavor. Then I'm adding in some drained and rinsed canned black beans, and I'm going to spice all of this up. I'm adding some garlic and onion powder, some smoked paprika, some cumin, and some chili powder. And I'm also going in with some dried oregano, and this brings a lot of those flavors that we like in Mexican food, at least the kind of Mexican food I have tasted. And I'm also going to season it with salt, add a little bit of water, and then let this cook down a little bit so that all the flavors can come together. As it cooks, I also like to break a few beans down just to make it nice and creamy, and then I'm ready to prepare my bowl. So I start with some of the cabbage and then top that off with some of the quinoa that I've already prepared. Next, I will add a good dollop of those creamy and flavorful beans, followed by the pineapple and tomato salad. Finally, I'm topping it off with some sliced avocado and some more fresh coriander. If you wanted to add even more juiciness and sauce to this, you could definitely use a store-bought tomato salsa. It's always yummy on here. Now I've managed to somehow introduce 2 out of 3 recipes in this video without saying this, but as always you will find all of the recipes written out, linked down below if you want to see them in that format. And now we're moving on. We're going to make the third and final Nourish bowl, which is a little bit inspired by the Middle East and a lot inspired by probably Swedish produce, especially produce that grows throughout winter, because we still don't really have lots of spring produce. So I'm using some cooked beets in this and kale, which are 2 of my favorite winter vegetables. And then there's going to be some dates and a dressing made with hummus. So that's where the Middle Eastern influence is coming in. And yeah, let's just go on and make it. The protein source for this third and final bowl will be some beluga lentils, and I like to cook them with a bay leaf and some stock cube as well as the water, just to give them lots of flavor from the get-go. I always cook them 2-to-1 ratio of water to lentils, then I bring them to a boil and I let them simmer until all the water is gone. This takes about 25 minutes. While the lentils simmer away, I prepare the beetroot, and as you can see, it's peeled and cooked already. You could buy it like this or prepare it yourself. And I like to just cut it into bite-sized pieces before I transfer it into a mixing bowl. To add to the flavor of the beetroot, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of white balsamic vinegar, as well as 1 teaspoon of sriracha hot sauce. I'm also going to press in some garlic, and these 3 things together will give it some tang as well as some heat. And then I season it with a little bit of salt before I just mix it all to coat the beetroot really well. Then I just leave the beetroot to sit and marinate in all those yummy flavors while I prepare the dressing. And this is a hummus base for the dressing. I'm just using some store-bought hummus here that I'm going to add some Dijon mustard to for a little bit of heat. Then I'm squeezing in the juice of half a lemon and drizzling in some maple syrup for sweetness. Finally, I season with some salt and just mix really well. I also like to thin it out with a little bit of water if it's a bit thick. I like it this consistency that you can see right here. The final component for this bowl is some massaged kale, and I'm using Cavolo Nero or Dino kale that I strip away from the stem and break into smaller pieces. Then I drizzle over some lemon juice and I season with a little bit of salt before I massage, and these two things will help break down the toughness of the kale. Again, I'm ready to assemble my bowl, and as with the other bowls, I start with the greens. So I add a bit of kale to the bowl and then sprinkle over my herby quinoa, followed by the cooked beluga lentils that are now all done cooking. Finally, I add my marinated beetroot that just adds this beautiful pop of color. And then to sort of crown the bowl, I'm going to sprinkle over some pieces of fresh dates that of course I pit before breaking it into little pieces and sprinkling it over the bowl. For a final touch, I also sprinkle over some pumpkin seeds that goes really well with this bowl and adds a nice crunch. So those are the 3 bowls that I have to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed it and you got some ideas for what to make in the week ahead or the month ahead or throughout spring. The best season is coming to us here in Sweden now, and I'm very excited, as a little side note, I guess. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.